Hello there, and welcome back to the Overcome Yourself podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I am so excited to be here today with one of the speakers from the Stop Writing, Start Selling Summit, Kelly Falardeau. Did I say that correctly?
You did. Yay.
Yay! All right, tell us all about you, Kelly.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you for being here with us. I'm so excited to have you. Tell me the story. You've got just such an incredible story of resilience, and you're amazing. So just start it off. Let us know where you come from and how you got here.
Oh, thank you. So when I was 2 years old, we lived on a farm, and my cousins were 9 and 11 at the time, and I was only 2. And my cousins were throwing shingles in the fire, and a spark came out and landed on my dress, and I exploded into flames.
Wow.
And I spent 4 months in the hospital. Every 2 days, I would have to be in the operating room for skin grafts. And then every 2 years until I was about 20 years old, I'd have to go back to the hospital for more surgeries because they needed me to grow so that I'd have more skin to work with.
Wow,
So,
wow, wow. So talk about overcoming yourself. So from your humble beginnings, now you help, I mean, we see all those books behind you. You help people become best-selling authors, right?
I do, yes.
Okay, so how did you go from the hospital, from having to deal with all of that, to overcoming yourself and just being such a powerful leader in the community and helping people? I mean, like, what you do is incredible, Kelly. Like, look at all those books behind you.
Well, and it's interesting because if I was to take myself back to being a little girl, I was called the Scarface Girl. And so I was devastated because who wants to be the Scarface Girl? I mean, Nicole, you know what it's like being a little girl. We want to be the princess. We want to be the Barbie. We want to be Cinderella. We want to be Snow White. We want to be all that. And I remember when I was doing my TEDx talk, I had to do some research. And it was like, when or how do we learn that the mirror talks to us? And
Mm.
right, because I remember looking in the mirror and saying, yuck, who's going to love somebody covered in scars? Because I just felt I was so ugly. And my scars were quite a lot more prominent when I was a child.
Mhm.
And so when I was researching for my TEDx talk, my talk was called Ugly is Still Beautiful. And I wanted to prove that ugly could be a beautiful word. And so I made ugly into an acronym. So I was researching and trying to figure out, how do we know that, like, how do we learn this, that the mirror talks? And it took me back to the movie Snow White,
Mhm.
where we see the evil queen talking to the mirror. And the mirror is this big booming face that comes out and talks back to the queen. And we learn at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old when we watch Snow White that the mirror talks to us.
Mhm.
And so I was fascinated by that, and I even put it out on Facebook, and I said, "At what age did you watch Snow White?" And people were telling me like 3 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, and so we're already.
I was gonna say that one of my first birthday parties was so white. She was my favorite princess because she was the only one with brown hair at the time, that had dark hair. So she was the only one that I kind of look like. So yes, it was one of the first ones I watched.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was where I discovered it's like, oh my gosh, that's where we learn it. And here we are, we're thinking we were learning good messages, but we're really learning about in a lot of cases, it's negative self-talk. So, um, I know that's where it was for me. But anyway, so, about 14 years ago, I remember going to an event, and it was a women's event, and I met this lady named Charmaine. And Charmaine and I were just like instantly glued to each other. It was like, oh my gosh, I got to know this woman. So her and I talked, and she said, Kelly, people will be so inspired by your story. You need to sell that business you have and become a speaker. And I said, what? Like, I'm a burn survivor, so what? And she's like, no, people will be so inspired by your story. Now, at that time in my life, I was married for 24 years, but I was in a toxic marriage. I wasn't happy with my marriage. I wasn't in love with my husband. We were almost bankrupt. I had a business that was just a big giant money pit that was bankrupting us. I also had a full-time job because my husband was laid off. And so when she said people would be inspired by me, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I feel like I'm the biggest loser in the world. Like,
Aw.
how would people be inspired by me? That's what was going through my mind. But I remember going home and saying to my husband, I'm going to be a speaker. And he said, well, who's going to listen to you? Because again, he's seeing all the negative stuff that's going on in our lives. And I basically just said to him, I don't know, but it's going to happen. Right. And that night he was telling me all these reasons I couldn't be a speaker and who's going to listen to me. And I'm not Anthony Robbins. I'm not Oprah Winfrey. I'm not all that. And we're almost bankrupt. And I think his final words were, I think you've picked a hard career choice. And speakers don't make any money. And I was like, oh, well,
Look at the
I'm
people that he
going
mentioned. That's so funny.
I know. He's now my husband, so I'm not with him anymore. I've got a great guy in my life now. But that was the start of my speaking career. I think it was 14 years ago.
Wow. 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 So you mentioned the TED Talk. Tell us a little bit about that. How, because I know our audience wants to know, how do you make money as a speaker? I know there's a lot of different ways. So tell us a little bit about how you do that. And let's start with the TEDx though, because we want to know about that TED Talk.
Sure, exactly. I know TEDx is one of like the top level speaking gigs that you could ever gig. So when you reach that goal, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I remember always wanting to do a TED Talk. And it was like, well, how do I do this? And back in the day, you actually had to be invited to apply.
Mhm.
You couldn't just apply to be a speaker. You had to be invited. And I was invited.
Amazing.
I didn't apply.
Oh.
I didn't apply back then. I didn't feel confident that I had the message
Mm.
to do a TEDx talk. I just didn't feel that I was at the level that I could. And it wasn't until I think it was like 5 years ago when I did it. So I was telling a friend of mine, yeah, I want to be on the TEDx stage. I mean, that's my goal. And she's like, well, hey, I know Corey Poirier, and Corey is teaching a course on how to do it. And I was like, okay, great. So, and I was a single mom at the time. I didn't have the money, but Corey let me make payment plans. And sure enough, I followed the first thing he said to do in module 1, and I landed not one, but 2 TEDx talks.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was the hardest speech I've ever done because I'm one of those girls that I like to, I plan my opening, I plan my closing, and I just trust my heart is going to know what to say in the middle. But with a TEDx talk, it's very structured. And so, yeah, so I did it. And like I said, it was the most nerve-wracking talk I've ever done in my life because it had to be very structured. And I don't normally use PowerPoint, but I did with that one. And so, yeah, it was the most rewarding talk I've done too.
That's amazing. And you have the link to that, right? So we can put that in the show notes and people can watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So tell me how you help entrepreneur. Well, oh, let's finish the question. So talk to me about how you make money speaking. Do you get paid to speak or are you making money on the back end or both?
Both.
Okay.
So
Tell us a little bit about that.
so before COVID, I was doing a lot of keynote speaking.
Mhm.
So that was my thing. I didn't have a program to sell, and I just had my story of being a burn survivor. And so I did a lot of just, keynote speaking. So I wasn't making the best money, right? Because
Mhm.
yeah, you get that flat rate, but I had nothing else. Then
So important. So such an important point. Okay, keep going. We'll
it
come
is
back to
very important,
it.
right? Like the speakers who make the most money are the ones who have programs to sell. They
We'll have
they
a
really
system. A
or a
system.
system. Yeah,
Yes.
a system, right? So, and I didn't. And
Mhm.
I felt completely awkward selling because I don't like to sell, right? Now I've gotten over it and I'm still learning, but it's still, I find it still very awkward. So I love just being able to go speak on stage, get my check, and go home. Then what happened was I came up with these blankets. I became an artist. And the blankets say, you are loved, you are needed, you are wanted. And what I would do is I would go to Rotary clubs and I would speak about my story being a burn survivor, and I would ask them to sponsor blankets. And then the blankets I would give away to the burn kids at summer camp. And so I did that type of speaking too. So that was good because I was selling blankets. Then when COVID hit, of course, I lost all my speaking gigs, just like everybody. And then I laid on the couch for a week and I said, okay, what am I gonna do? And I said, I guess I'm gonna do that book thing. And I was already coaching people a little bit, but not a lot. And so what I did is I did my very first workshop. I did pay what you can, because I thought with COVID, I thought, well, I don't know if people are going to spend money or not. I thought we might all just stop spending money. So I said, pay what you can. And I was going to do it in person, but of course, because of COVID, couldn't. So then okay, I guess we're going to do this on Zoom. And so that's what I did and I made like $1,500 that first time I ever did it, because some people paid
Wow,
$20, some people paid 150. It was just such a range. And so
that's so
then,
cool.
yeah. And so from there, then I learned how to do like a 3-day event and then do a high ticket offer for like 10K. And I put together a program to teach people how to become best-selling authors. And so honestly, these past 3 years have been my best years financially ever.
That is amazing. I'm so proud of you, Kelly. I love this story. Um, what I said by systems is exactly what you were saying, Kelly. You get paid to speak up front. So you get paid to get on that stage because you're going to deliver value to that audience. They want you there. Then you give your speech, your keynote speech, your amazing speech. Everybody falls in love with you. And they're like, oh my God, we want more of Kelly. And then you're like, all right, cool. Guess what? Here's my website. Here's my social media. This is what I can do for you. Right. And so there you have a system where people can come into that system and they can work with you, or they can follow you, or they can do what they want to do, become a best-selling author. And something that I talk to my clients about all the time is that selling is an act of love, because if you didn't sell to them, they wouldn't become best-selling
Yes.
authors as quickly and as easily as with your help. And so when you're selling from that stage, one of the ways to overcome that is remember that we're coming from selling from a place of love. We're not shoving something that doesn't work, like like a lemon car down someone's throat just to get their cash. This is a system that's really going to help them, that's going to impact their life. It's going to help them achieve their goals. And so when they give us money to do that for them, that's an even exchange of energy, and it's from a place of love. And people are excited to work with you, I bet. Like, I mean, you changed their entire lives. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that you were just able to step into that space of authority. Um, and just change your own life, Kelly. Because, like, I mean, speaking from the stage and having that system and having people work with you and changing their lives, that's incredible. How many books have you gotten back there? Tell me about your authors.
So I've helped over about 500 people become best-selling authors, and all the books that are behind me are all my clients' books. So
That's amazing.
yeah, so there's all kinds of books here and there, and they're all my clients' books. And then I recently did my very first children's book. So
Ah,
yeah, and this is for my grandson, and and so it's cool because I made him into Kai the koala, and there's just a little story of him and I going for a walk and eating blueberries and
oh
all
my
this.
gosh, Kelly, that is the best. Oh,
I
I
know.
love
I
that.
just love it. It was my first time doing a children's book, and I used AI for it, and it was just so much fun. And it's a best-selling book now too, so it's kind of cool.
Congratulations. That's amazing. Another one for the awards wall. So, as we're wrapping up here, Kelly, I want to know, what's the top tip that you give your author? Like, give us the secret sauce. What are we going to do to become best-selling authors? What's that best tip you can give us?
Oh, the best tip. So the best tip I can give you is to don't send everybody to Amazon. Send them to your own landing page. Okay. And the reason you want to do that is because if you send everybody to buy your book on Amazon, Amazon owns the client and you don't know who bought your book. And then when you go to do your second and your third book, you're not going to have anybody to sell your books to. So this way, if you have a landing page and you send people to your landing page to pre-order your book that way, then you know who your clients are, and then you can market any coaching programs, any services, any other books, everything. But if you send them directly to Amazon, Amazon owns the client and you'll never know who bought your
Yes,
book.
that is such a big deal. That goes in line with creating that list, having your customers, because it is less expensive to sell to an existing customer than it is to find a new customer. That's like, let's go into business mode and talk about it. And they're gonna want more of your stuff. If they read your first book and you've got a new book coming out, they're gonna want to know. They're gonna want to read it because they already love you. And so that's such a big deal. So owning that list, because like you said, like, we do sell books. I've got my journals. Let me see. Do I got my journal? I've got my journals on Amazon. And somebody was like, I ordered your book. Did you see? And I went to look and I was like, I don't know who ordered my book. So it is such a big deal to make sure that you've got some way to track those readers. I love that.
Yeah,
That's such a good
exactly. But
tip.
like even with this, my children's book, I mean, this is going to be a series. So, this is blueberries. You might do, you know, radishes or, cauliflower and broccoli story,
Or
right?
a
And
coloring book.
a coloring book.
That's
But if I don't know who bought the book, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Yes,
So,
yes. I love that so, so much. What if you make it like into a show? Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna we're gonna go down the
oh
deep
my
end here.
God.
But
Oh, you
there
and I are
are a
ideal.
lot of ways that you could transform that content. So once that becomes a bestseller, you can bring in, that's a great example of how you can bring other products, whether it's a series that continues where they go, like you said, get raspberries or go apple picking or go orange picking or strawberries. Oh my God, I love picking strawberries. Right? And you can have different adventures, or you can do supplementary products like maybe flashcards with all the fruits, or a coloring book, or other things like that. Like we can get really, really creative with these, and provide our customers with what they want, right? Because they already love us and we want to sell to them out of a place of love. And this is going to help their kiddos with their reading and to fall in love with healthy foods. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's kind of cool.
Yes, and you also have that beautiful bestseller badge that is such an authority builder. People love to see that. So one of the speakers on the summit let us know that's instant credibility with your audience, because they know you have something to say, and a lot of people have paid to hear you say it. And so having that bestseller badge, awesome credibility. If you want to know more about how Kelly helps her authors become best-selling authors, make sure you check out the show notes below. All the links are going to be there. Kelly, let us know, how can we follow you on social media? How can we sign up for your email list so we know about that next book that's coming out? And how can we work with you to become best-selling authors?
So the best thing to do is just to book a call with me.
Okay.
So, and that's bookkelly.as.me/discovery. I also have a free gift for your audience. So yeah, it's my Chat GPT Bible. It's 454 writing prompts for nonfiction and fiction books. So they can go to the link there and grab that also. And then that way they'll have the Bible. So when they get stuck and they don't know what to write, they can just go to the Bible and it has 454 writing prompts for them.
And it
So
is amazing. I've been in there. I've been working with some of those, so I already know how juicy and amazing they are. You are gonna want to get your hands on this. Check out those links below. And then how do we follow you on social media?
social media, just Kelly Falardeau. That's the best way to find me.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Sounds good. So all of that information will be down below. Kelly, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing your story with us. You are just a ray of sunshine. I'm so excited to be connected with you and to see the amazing things you're going to do because this is only the beginning. I'm so excited
Oh,
for you.
thank you so much. You're so gorgeous and adorable, and I just love
Me
you. And
too.
I love seeing your social media posts and everything. And every time it just warms my heart. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you so much. Yes, make sure you follow us both on social media. We're in there hanging out together. We're commenting on each other's stuff. So jump in with us. All those links are going to be down below. We will see you next time on the Overcome Yourself podcast. Thanks for being here today with us, guys. Bye.
Bye.